and welcome to PME for our number 6 Facebook Live event. Welcome to everybody and thank you very much for joining us here today. It really is wonderful to have you tuned in. If you're tuning in after the event, thank you also for joining us then too. As Silvio has just joined us, I'm going to start again. As Silvio has just shown you, we have some really glorious different demonstrations to show you today. Absolutely wonderful. Hopefully lots of hints and tips for you along the way as well. It's all about girls, 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 remember? So that's that special person in your life, that special female, whoever they may be. So, my name's Paula and I'm head of school here at PME and I'm going to be taking you through some of these wonderful demonstrations today. So hopefully there's some hints and tips for everybody here. So we really hope you enjoy it and take away something with you for any time of the year. So, without further ado, we're going to start off with a little bit of fun today for everybody. It's piping, but it is still fun. And as you can see here, it's a new tube, it's a gem tube, and it is called Twist, Twist, Twist. So basically, when you start piping with this one, you know there's a song for it, and you know what to do. It is the twist, twist, twist. Preferably not when you're piping, but in between piping. So you can have a lot of fun with this. There's actually 10 in the range of those, and I'm actually going to show you those 10 that are in the range, so you can get a good idea of the different variety of tube that you can actually use. There you go, Silvio's just showing you now. All very colourful as well, which is within our theme too. There's large and small nozzles there as well. So to start off with, what we're actually going to show you is how to prepare the bag for that. So if I start off just by using what is a disposable bag, I'm just using one of the ones out of here, so they're nice and strong for you to be able to use and work with. And all I'm going to do is snip the end off the bag and drop my tube inside. So this is a nice, easy way to have a go to start off with. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of piping, you can actually have a coupler, which we're going to look at in a minute. Now, it's quite tight round here. You can give it a little push, and that will just come through. You don't want it too loose, because that will come up the tube, and then you'll be finding that the tubing actually goes flying out. So I'm just going to peel that back, ready to go. Now, if you don't actually want to use a disposable there and you have got an awful lot of work to do and a lot of cupcakes to prepare, you could actually choose the gem coupler here. Now, this is actually 3 pieces in total, so if I slide this along to show you, we've actually got the adapter. So there's our adapter here, and then we've actually got 2 sizes of coupler there. So this would be for the small tube, sorry Sylvia, just pop those in there, and this would be for a large one. So you can just interchange those quite easily as you go. So just going to pop the main adapter down into the bag, and I'm just going to use any of the top section just to twist it on there, just to mark my bag, and then untwist it. And then you'll be able to see quite easily where you need to cut. Now, I've got some rings just on here, so I'm actually going to cut about there. And that should be, hopefully, okay for us. And then just push in, so you can see it's nice and neat, and it's clearing the top section there, which is what you want to happen. And then we grab our tube. I've just gone with the small one and the small adapter, and I'm going to place that in position on there. Actually, I'm going to swap. I'm going to show you the small one first of all, and then I'm going to show you also the large one, so that can also go on there too. There we go. So give it a little tighten up and make sure that's nice and secure. And you can see that's in there and that's ready to go. So that's another option for you as well. So then we're actually going to fill the bag. So we're going to keep it nice and simple with this one. And I've got some buttercreams ready to go here. Now, if I just show you this one, you can see there's a little bit of variety on the colour with that buttercream on the cupcake. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to add in 3 different shades of pink, and then they come through. When you're actually piping, it just feeds its way through. Now, I have given them a mix beforehand, but I'm just going to pop that down into there. So hold it like an ice cream cone or something like that. Pop that right the way down into the centre and grab another colour as well. So don't forget, we need you to interact and shout out with us as well. And on that note, I think Pat's there with a shout out, because don't forget, we need you to say hello and we will do our absolute best to talk to you at the same time. So go for it, Pat.
Okay. Oh dear, sorry.
A croak in the voice there, Pat.
So we've got some regular viewers here.
Oh, perfect.
Paula, and people
Lovely.
that you know. So we've got Helena Agren and Joseph of Blossom Cakes.
Oh, that's perfect. Hello, both of you. Good to see you and hear you.
And we both know where they're from, don't we?
We do. They're over in Hong Kong and China, yes.
And we've also got a big hello from Poland from Monica.
That's wonderful. Hello, Monica, as well. That's really good to see you. Great to hear from you. So if you're kind of like still watching, which we hope you are, and keep interacting with us, you can see I've just popped a little bit of buttercream on the top of 2 little cupcakes. I've got a lovely little miniature cupcake there. And all I'm going to do is just place my tube into the centre there. And I'm going to do my twist, twist bit. So here we go. Twist, twist, twist one way, back the other way, and lift. And that gives us that lovely little effect on our cupcake. Now, how easy was that to work with? And then into the centre, we'd actually be able to add in a little bit of decoration in there as well. So that's using the bag, and then I'm just going to swap round and show you using the coupler now. So just make sure that you've pushed down the buttercream into the tube so that we're all ready to go. And again, just into the centre and upright, and just twist one way. And then twist back the other. Now, if you want to, you can add an extra twist into there as well. And just keep your pressure on and then lift it away. And that gives you that wonderful, wonderful effect again. Very, very easy to do. Not difficult at all. Now, Pat's come running over. Well, kind of running over. She's got another shout out. So who have we got this time?
Well, we start off with Martha Vella. She says hello from Austin, Texas.
Hello, Martha from Texas. That's really, really good.
And Annalise Horton says hi from the Netherlands.
Hello from the Netherlands. That's fantastic. Really good to hear from you all. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Peggy Loy says hello from Dumfries. So we're up in Scotland.
That's perfect. Oh my goodness, Scotland. Yes.
And Cheryl Wilkinson says, wow, I've learnt something, never realised you can get those adapters for changing icing nozzles.
Yeah, they're absolutely brilliant, to be honest, and they're so easy. Well, you saw it didn't take me long to do. And you've got the option then of having your large nozzle and your small one as well, and that's absolutely perfect. I mean, it's so easy to use. You don't have to, you might just have one to do, and in which case you're probably not thinking about, you know, adding anything extra into there at all. So I think Silvio's got a good shot of that for everybody. Sorry, I didn't mean to kind of go across the top of you there, Silvio. So he doesn't say much, Silvio. Right, so next we're going to power through some of these different little demonstrations. Again, lots of hints, tips and ideas we always hope for you, so that you can get a really good idea of giving something a try and not being afraid to give it a go. Now I'm going to turn that around so Silvio can get a really good shot of that. And if I just move some of these little bits and pieces away. Now we've got a little flower here, so we're looking at some quilling, and we're actually going to be using some gum paste without egg for that. So I'm also going to be looking at using the sugar roller just to give me my strands, but you could also use a gem strip cutter. You could use a number 2 or a number 3, depending on what depth of your little quilling techniques that you want to go with. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. Now I have actually got set up, and I'm going to bring in quickly just so that you can have a little look at how easy it is, if you've got one of these, to be able to create lots of strips, multiple strips, without very much effort involved at all. And anybody that knows me is very much aware, I'm sure, that I like anything for a very easy life wherever possible. And this for me is nice and easy. Sometimes I also find that my hands get a little bit dodgy. So for me, this is the solution. Now I've got it attached so that I can look at doing the strip here. It is a bit noisy, so I will shout over this. All I'm going to do is basically go straight through here. I'm going to switch on. I'm on my second speed, so here we go. Get ready. Oh, it's not too bad actually, is it? I thought it would be a lot worse. I'm just going to let it feed through. I'm going to catch it underneath. So there we go. There we are. And that's it. I'm switching off for now. There we go. That's all done and dusted. And you can see my lovely little assortment of strips there. Like I say, if you haven't got one of them, it's very easy to just use your gem strip cutter. Put my teeth in. I seem to be losing my teeth today, Sylvia, I think a little bit. So all I'm going to do now is just trim up that end so that that is nice for myself. And we're just going to look at creating a little petal, which is very easy. Now I'm going to use this little tool here, a little quilling tool. It's a little gem tool. Just pop the paste up, pop it over there like that. I normally leave a little bit of an edge because that will get tucked in and away in a second, and you'll see what I mean. And then just carry on round. And you can give it a little jiggle. You can kind of loosen it a little bit as you go. Give it a little wiggle. And then you can see, you just get whichever size you want. Now, the longer the strip, the more you will actually have to create your actual twisty bit. So I'm going to take a little bit off there, just with my cutting wheel. There we go. Because I don't need it too big, because it's just going to sneak into here for myself. So you can kind of see, carry on a little bit of twisting, give it a little jiggle to make sure it's come out, and a little pinch just at the bottom, and that gives you a little leaf shape or a petal shape. Another little pinch just at the top, and then you can see that's what you've got, your little petal. And it's more luck than judgment, but hopefully it should fit quite nicely just into there, which, as it happens, it does. That was quite lucky there. So let me just then glue that in. There we go. Now you can do any sorts of colours. You can do thin strips, curls, solid sections. If I just bring some of these in, Silvio can just get some shots of that. And you can see how we've actually created stems and leaves as well as the petals that are on there. And if I just bring that in, you can see we've got a little centre that just fits into there quite nicely. So it is very time consuming, and I have to admit I haven't got tons of patience for this. However, if you want something therapeutic, it is really, really good. Now I know we've got another shout out there, so let's just have a little look and say hello. Who have we got to say hello to, Pat? It's very exciting.
We've got a few this time, Paula.
Oh my goodness,
they've been kind of gathering momentum.
Oh, that's really, really good. Well, thank you.
So this is Angela Pinto. She says hi from Singapore.
Hi, Angela from Singapore.
And she also says enjoying this tutorial and sends you a smiley face.
Thank you for the smiley face.
Now then, here's two people that you met only yesterday.
Oh, well, I know who this is. I know exactly who this is.
Okay, so this is Jane Notley. She
Hello,
says,
Jane.
hello from Lucy and Jane, Cake Decoration and Sugarcraft magazine. Loving your Facebook Live.
That's great. It's lovely to have you watching, and thank you for supporting us and saying hello. Smiley face there as well, I hope.
And then we also have a shout out from Cheryl Wilkinson, who says, love the twist.
Great, yeah, twist, twist, twist. You can't do enough twisting, can you? Okay, so we're just going to very quickly throw in here, because we're trying to make sure that that there's a little bit of something for everybody here. And you will see on the display we were showing you that we had some butterflies and some shoes. So we just thought we'd bring the brush and fine pen in. Now this is great for cutouts in sugar paste, or in gum paste, or perhaps in cookies, which is what these are primarily for, but we like to use them for other things as well. Now both of these little shoes you could use to the left or perhaps to the right if that's what you wanted to do. And you've got two different sizes in each of the cutters, and I've just chosen these two. I've already pre-done a little bit, but I always like to colour over whatever I'm working with. So I've got my brush and fine pen, so you can kind of see, if I hold that over the white, you can actually see it is a very, very lovely, long, soft brush end of the pen. So I'm just going to run over that there, just backwards and forwards. These are wonderful for blending, and then we've got also a fine tip as well. So if nothing else, for that special person, that special lady, special girl in your life, you can quite easily just create some of these. Leave them to dry for however long you want to, at least overnight, and then you'll be able to get your brush and fine pen and do some wonderful, very creative butterflies on there. So if I just show you, you can see that that is actually the very fine ends. That's great for writing, or maybe if the end is a little bit, if your paste is still a little bit soft, you can use either of these ends on there. So that makes it really good to know. So if you've got fine detail to do, it's not going to stop you getting these done, especially if you're in a big rush like we mostly are these days. None of us has very much time to spare. So this is good to know that you can very quickly put something together throughout the year, especially if you've forgotten. We don't like to forget, but it does happen sometimes, doesn't it? So again, I'm just going to go onto the black so you can see just across on the edges, and I'm going to come across on that edging there as well, just very quickly. And like I say, normally I like to go back over it again, just so that I've got a really nice definition on there. So I'm going to create my outline on there and then come back again a little bit later on with that. And again down the body, so it just kind of really gives it a nice dark deep finish onto there. Okay, so we can maybe come back to that a bit later on if we wanted to, but you can see how easy it is to get that begun and where it needs to be. Now, we're not going to spend long on this. It was just, again, throw some of those ideas at you so that you know what to do, and maybe just how to get the creative side heading where it needs to. Again, any colours are great, and we've got all sorts of range of colours in that one. So I'm just going to leave my butterfly just up there, and then we're going to move on to, and I'm just going to bring this one in, a little handbag. Now you may have spotted that a little bit earlier. I'm going to leave that there so Silvio can just have a little look. That's not all of it, that's just part of the little handbag. I'm going to bring those two sections in so that they are then ready. Now I did show you the sugar roller and creating the strips, but what I'd like to do now is just show you, before I move on to using the gem cutter, how to roll it out there first of all so it's nice and fine, ready to use with your gem cutters. Now what I'll do is, because what I've done is I've got most of the paste ready ahead of time, and inevitably sometimes it can dry up a little bit, so I don't want to do it ahead and then talk through this side of things. So if I do mention the gem cutter first, I think I'm just going to pop that in the bag. That could be the best thing to do. Now this is the bag, and this is the decorative little kind of handle and opening and the seam across there. I've got the two handles onto the back, and I'm just going to push that into the roller pad, and that'll hold that nice and secure for me. And then with my section here, I'm going to cut that out afterwards, and I'm just going to lay that across that middle bit. So let's have that ready to one side. Now you can see I've got a little bit of demonstration there, just showing you the little spots that are on there. So let me just bring that through. I've still got some strips left into there, and I'm just going to unclip and move us along, so make sure that I'm where it needs to be. So I'm just going to pull that to the edge and then slide that up and then in and down. So that's now ready. Now I'm on number 1 here, and I'm just going to use some white paste that I popped back into my bag. Again, I'm working with gum paste because that's what works best with the gem cutters. And I'm just going to give it a good knead, which I did do a little bit earlier on. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a roll out. See, I've got to put my roller in the way now, so I haven't left myself very much space. It's a good job you're mobile, Silvio. He's smiling. He's not saying anything, but he is smiling. So, going to be noisy again. So I've started off on 1, and then I'm going to carry on moving along. So there we go. Just through there a couple of times. And then while it's still moving, click it to number 2. Thread that through again, onto number 3, and it's just getting bigger now, so I'm just going to make sure that goes through all okay, and onto number 4. So just feeding that through, as you can see. Just have a little look. We just need to go a little bit bigger. I'm not sure if I've actually picked up the right piece of paste here, to be honest. Oh, we've got a shout out. That's a good deterrent for me. I'm going to make the most of that. Go on then, Pat.
Okay.
I'm trying to stretch my paste at the moment.
Stretch your paste.
Yeah, I might have to go again, I'm afraid.
No problem. Kerry Redding, she asked which paste for quilling, please.
Gum paste. Yes, definitely gum paste.
So she says, is it flour paste? So
yes, that's the same. Yeah, gum paste, flour paste, that is the same. They're basically all exactly the same thing. And I think we're okay. We've just got away with that one.
And as she said, she started watching. Oh, now I'm shouting.
Yeah, now you're shouting, Pat.
She started watching just as you were quilling. So
that's great.
She missed it, but she sent you a big smiley face.
Thank you. Big smiley face back to you as well.
And there's also a message from South Africa. It says, "Hi, Pat and Paula. Thank you for this very informative tutorial from Jem in South Africa."
Oh, hello, Jem in South Africa. Always good to hear from you. Maybe we'll hear from our sister company in the US, or maybe our Hong Kong hub as well. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
And while I'm here, Paula, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works.
Oh,
here.
go on then, Pat. I'm used to this.
Maybe at the end, could you go back to the twist?
I could do twist. Yeah, we can do that.
A few people kind of
wanted to see
part of it.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, we've got the bags ready, and anything anybody needs, just yell, and we'll do the shout out, and then we'll know exactly what's what. Now, I've got my little circles that I'm just cutting out here. I've got my paste pre-rolled, and before we started, I was saying to Pat, I do hope it doesn't dry out on me, and it should be fine because it's in the little mat there to make sure that it doesn't, but you never know. These things happen. So I'm just using different size circle cutters to cut out different circles, obviously, with the circle cutter. And then I'm just putting them straight onto the paste, which I have to say, what I've managed to do in my wisdom is I've managed to actually pick up the wrong ball of white paste. So this could be quite amusing for you if you find it doesn't fit the cutter very well. So the joke will be on me, and you'll all have a wonderful giggle at my expense. But hey-ho, it's not the first time these things do happen, and it happens to all of us. So you can see I'm just working my way through these different colours, and this is what I'm going to achieve. And I'm going to cheat because I'm going to put it through the sugar roller to flatten it all back out again for myself, make life a little bit easier. I'm not using any glue. I'm just giving it a little push just to secure it. Very, very important, though, that you do use nice fresh paste so that it's not dried out at all, because what you don't want to have to do is start using glue on it or anything like that, because you just get into a big old mess, which is not what we actually want to happen. So I'm just going to quickly bring the sugar roller back in. There we go. Ta-da. And I've got it on the correct setting. I think I've got that on there, yes. So I'm just going to push them through and click that on. So just going through now. There we go. Now don't worry if it's actually gone slightly distorted, because I'm now going to show you a little trick. I'm not going to try and thread it back through the other way. Normally I'd then thread it through there, but what I'm actually going to do is just bring my rolling pin and just roll over that way, and you can see that just straightens out the little circles, so they're back to being circles as opposed to oblongs. So back over to our gem cutter. Move those out the way now. A little bit of my friend petal base just across the cutter, like so. And I'm just going to flip it that way round. And look, you'll see it's quite tight. Look, I've only just got away with that, but whew, I think I have. And then just roll across. I'm only doing that just so that I've got the best side. I always think it's got a top and a bottom side. So I just try to put it in so that that's correct. Quick tidy up around the outside edge. So you get a nice clean cut, and then take away the excess paste. There we go. Now we've also got over here former. Now there's two formers in the pack, and you can see I've got some petal base that I have had on there previously. So I'm just going to place a little bit more on there for myself. This just helps the paste release off the mould. Take these away from here, and you can see how this is going. So I'm going to place that on there. I'm just going to sit down because I'm more comfy then to be able to go through, and Silvio can kind of get in. That would be good. I'm just going to line up around the base and kind of push it onto the mould, and also where I've got the petal base, so it helps it stick in place. And I'm actually just going to pleat. I can hear the chair creaking, and that's Pat getting up, and she's telling me there's another shout out, so that's good to know.
Well, I've actually got a shout out and a question.
And a question, okay, go for it.
Okay, so the shout out is from Selvi. Basically says, "Hi, I'm Selvi from the UK."
Hello, Selvi.
And a big smiley face with
that's lovely.
everywhere.
That's really good to know.
Okay, now then you'll love this question. This question is made just for you.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
From Peggy Loy.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, I think so. I don't know, I'm a bit nervous now.
What is petal base?
Right, well, Petal Base is my most favourite product ever. Just squeeze that through that. Now, it's actually a release agent, and if I just leave my little bag there, I've basically pleated that, and it's now going to dry, and then we're going to stick two together. So I'm going to leave that there. Petal Base, if I just bring that in, you can see, and I see what you mean now, Pat, yes, it is for me, is a release agent, and you can see in there, it's a fat type product, but it isn't greasy. So basically, when it's warm and hot, it's not going to go melty and yucky, and it's not going to go rancid either. And it means to say that you can pop it on your cutter, and it does two things in the cutter. It actually helps the paste stay where it needs to when you're rolling over it, but equally it makes it very easy to release when it comes to it. I also use it to feed it onto my board. It's also great to remove any kind of colour off your board as well, so always good to put onto there. Wonderful to knead into your paste when you're getting it ready to roll out as well. If it's gone a little bit rubbery or you've overworked it and you're kind of trying to use it up, a bit of Petal Base in there is absolutely perfect for that. Barrier, there's so much. Barrier on your hands before you do colouring if you've not got gloves on. It does help protect against getting the colour into your skin as well. Absolutely brilliant. We just love it. And of course, I always say have one for your sugar kit and one for your handbag, because it's the best lip balm ever. Silvio's grinning because he knew what was going to happen then and what I was going to say, and Pat's also grinning as well. So that's great. So I'm going to take that out of the way now. So that's our little handbag. So I've just pleated. I don't think I've done a brilliant job on my pleating, if I'm absolutely honest. I was a little bit worried about pulling my circle out. That's pretty good. What you need to make sure is that all around the edging is where it needs to be. So if you've got any little gaps, just push it down, because each of the two halves needs to be spot on so that you can stick them together properly. So that's very, very important. Now, before I move on to do the cross bit here, I'm actually going to bring in these two sections here to be able to stick together. So I generally tend to just put either a cutting wheel or just try and lift it up with your scriber, one of those two things, because obviously it's got your Petal Base on here and it will actually help it release. But like I say, it kind of helps it stick a little bit as well. So put your two little formers over there. Oh dear, let's hope it goes okay, shall we? Okay, so you can kind of see how they're going to work together. I'm going to put some glue on there and hold them in position while I do that. I've got a really tickly nose as well at the moment, I'm afraid to say, and I'm just like, oh no. So a little bit of glue. You might prefer or want to use perhaps something like a piping gel, that would be fine. You could use a royal icing if you want to. Nice thick glue is good, so I think a piping gel would be quite good to use. There we go. And then just hold them together. Now I have to admit, I don't know if these are going to be set enough for me to be able to put my decorative seam onto here, but I'm hoping that they will be. And I'm actually going to set it into the former to be able to handle it, I suppose, a little bit better. I was looking for another word. I didn't want to say handle it because we're doing the handle section, but I think it's appropriate. So I'm just going to lean them down into there, like so. I've actually got a tea towel that matches the handbag as well. I'll show you later. So here's our other section in that cutter. So there's two pieces in the cutter, and this tends to sit into the middle section like that. And then we get that distance across there. If you kind of try and put it in somewhere else, you'll be hanging over the edge. So it's all very cleverly done. Now, sometimes people don't always use the pad, and that's fine if that's your choice to do. But what we find is that it's very difficult to then get this lovely embossing detail to come through. So again, here we go. Rolled out paste already. I'm a little bit short just across there. So I'm just going to use my rolling pin just to go a little bit longer with it. Now you can see it's actually lifting a little bit there as well, can't you? And that's because I pre-rolled it earlier. So I'm going to use my Petal Base just underneath like so, and that will help it roll out but also stick onto the board like so. So it's very good, it's very forgiving as well. So I'm just going to make sure that's extended the other way as well. There we go, that's done the trick. There we go, I think that's all okay. And I'm just going to lift that up. Now I'm going to use the wet side, which was face down, onto the cutter. A little bit of my favourite, on it goes. I find pedal bass is very addictive, I have to admit. I just think it's wonderful stuff. I love it so much. I'm on a mission, aren't I? Pat's got a question, so I'm just going to carry on as Pat reads through that question, if that's okay.
Okay, Paula, this is from Cheryl.
Cheryl, hello,
and she
Cheryl.
says, can you use sugar paste for the bag?
Yeah.
And how long would you say you need to allow to dry?
Okay, well, I wouldn't choose to use sugar paste for it because you'll actually find you get into a horrible sticky mess. Definitely stick with a toughened up paste and ideally gum paste, without a doubt. You may find sometimes you can get away, and I say get away with modelling paste, but it is very difficult. You need to be able to roll the paste nice and finely, which is what you can do with gum paste and what you can't do with the sugar paste, and it would just get totally stuck inside the cutter. It's worth investing in it. You can roll it very, very thin and very fine, so a little does go a really long way. So don't think it's going to be more expensive. It's actually going to be a false economy if you try and use your sugar paste. So, and if you're a bit concerned about trying a gum paste and you're not used to working with it, give it a good old knead first of all. Give it a good stretch because it is nice and stretchy, and see how finely you can actually roll it out. And you need to roll it out as finely as, well, let me just see. Oh, actually, oh no, that's not fine enough. I was going to say, if we can roll out this a little bit more, you'll be able to see some wording through it. This is kind of drying a little bit. I'm going to use a bit of that. But this is how fine you need to be thinking about rolling your paste to get used to rolling it very finely. Hopefully you should be able to see just a little bit of lettering through there. So for drying, it will begin to crust already, so I'm going to move on straight away. I'm just going to make sure that I've got a good amount of clean area around these sections here. So just pull them out there. I think definitely overnight. Now, the one we've just done there, that is already beginning to firm up to give you an idea. Fully dry, to be honest, in a couple of hours, it wouldn't be long, and we're going to have a fairly firm little bag in there. And maybe we can come back to it at the end so that we can see how dry it is. That will give you a good idea. Definitely overnight, you'll have a nice firm little half a handbag or whatever you're working with. But it does crust very quickly, so it is important to put these bits back in your bag. Don't do what I've done and just leave them all hanging around, just throwing them around. Pop them back in the bag and keep it sealed, and that will do the job for you. So I'm just going to pull that out, and there we can see we've got that very pretty little decorative section on there. Now, I've already cheated earlier on, and possibly even yesterday with this one, and I had one rolled out already, so you can see I've got two of these now. Now I'm going to attempt to put them onto the bag. I say attempt to put them onto the bag because I really don't know if it's going to have stuck just yet. So I'm going to put some glue onto the back of one of them and start to attach. This section here that I've just put the glue on now is going on the side here, and this is actually the handle bit, so that will sit upright and free of the bag. There we go. So hopefully that answers those questions suitably for you. There we go, so I'm just going to lay that on there. It's going to start to spin, so I'm going to have to pick it up very carefully. Normally I would have left it to dry for a little bit longer, and just around the outside edge, like so. Give it a little push, so anything that was a bit untidy with your pleats will now be hidden. So I'm just going to get the side in position first, and then I'm going to lift the handles. So you can see anything that isn't quite how you would like it to be, it's very forgiving. There we go, so just give it a little crease, and that will help that sit upright and ready. I'm going to flip this one over now as well. Lay that down. I'm going to carry on holding on to this little effort because I don't want it to break. You can see this one's drying out that was done earlier, because like I say, I think I left a little bit of it, oh, I shouldn't have gone on there, a little bit of it left hanging out from my mat that I had that in. If you haven't got a mat, you could also put that into a food bag. That will also do the same job. Oh, I've just undone it. I was doing so well. Right, I'm going to flip that over. So we're opposite sides. Put it in position, and again, just covering over anything that you need to. Line it up so you're flush across there. Give it a little push. In position, line it up into your creases a little bit, very carefully moving it round. Like I say, I did need to leave the bag to dry, ideally beforehand. Now this is that section that's a little bit drier, so you can see already where it has dried. It doesn't want to bend so much. So I'm just pushing it into place, and I think that should do the job. So I've got away with that. I've done quite well. I'm quite pleased it hasn't fallen apart so soon. Like I say, give it a little dry normally. So that is our little bag. So I could pop it in there to carry on drying. Quite pleased actually that that's gone so well. There we go. Shouldn't tempt fate. There's still more to do. So there we go. So that's a really cute little spotty bag. I'm just going to move that there so Silvio can have a good little look at that as I just clear for the next thing. So our next thing we're going to look at is a little flower called the Cosmos, and it comes with a little calyx as well. And again, this is, as it happens, a gem cutter again, and I do have some paste pre-rolled out here ready, and I'm going to bring back in my roller pad, but I'm actually going to use it just to lever my mat upwards so that you can oh, I'm going to have to use it first. Hang on a minute. There we go. I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. Calyx in there, or Cosmos into there. The calyx I'm actually going to show you, but leave over here. I'm not going to use it today because we're actually going to do cupcakes, and we don't need to worry about threading that onto the back because it just isn't going to be seen. So I'm going to put that to one side. I've got my pre-rolled paste, nice and thin with that. I've got my petal base. I'm just going to rub a little bit of that onto my gem cutter. Again, we're keeping it nice and simple and easy to do. Give it a little push and over with the rolling pin. Over we go one way and back across the other. And again, you can see that's quite a good clean cut, but I just like to give it a little tidy up. Now you can do that with a tool if you prefer, or just with the edge of the finger. And a little push if you think there's any areas that aren't quite clean cut. And if you do that before you pull the paste away, you'll get a nice edge and you won't lift it out of the cutter too soon or ahead of time either. So just going to use my scriber. Now I've been using this quite a lot already today, and that's just because it's just a much easier way of being able to remove paste out of the cutters. It's much safer. Sometimes people tend to use a pin, which is very dangerous, especially if it got caught up in your cupcake or your buttercream. So we always play it safe, good practice and all that type of thing, and make sure that they don't get lost in there. Now what I've done is I've actually put 2 layers in total we'll need, and I've put the first layer in a former to dry, but perhaps if you were going to add these into a cupcake you wouldn't need to worry. You could just put them straight into the cupcake. So I'm going to leave that in here, ready to go. And I'm just going to lever it onto the edge so that Silvio gets a good shot there of what's needed. And I'm just going to use a little bit of corn flour just onto the board, just to help me frill the edge of the petals as I go. And I'm actually going to also use a petal veiner, which you can see, this is a gem petal veiner that we're using here. It gives a lovely texture across each of the petals. And I'm just going to widen from the centre to the outside each of these petals as we go. I'm going to give it a little lift and a little swoosh round on the corn flour just to help it lift. And I want them nice and frilly as we go. So you can kind of see that giving a really pretty effect, and hopefully you can also see that veining coming through there. I heard the chair creak again, and that can only mean one thing, that Pat has something on a board that she's showing me, and it's a shout out.
It's a couple of shout-outs, actually.
It's a couple of shout-outs.
Paula.
Hello.
Two very different parts of the world.
Oh, wow.
So, first of all, from Candice, she says, loving the tutorial all the way from South Africa.
Oh, wow,
and
brilliant, lovely.
A gorgeous smiley face.
Great, thank you very much.
Claudia says, hello there, just letting you know I'm watching all the way from Slovakia.
Slovakia as well, wow.
Love the tutorial, learning a lot. Thank you. God bless.
Oh, isn't that great? That's so lovely. And we're always saying, and I don't think I said it this time, but we are really a truly international company. And we are just so thrilled to have you all communicating with us, sending hearts and faces and smiles. And it's just really lovely, because this is what it's all about for us, is to be able to share with you some very easy, hopefully quick and useful hints and tips and everything as well. That's really, really good. Yeah, so hello to everybody from all around the world. So I don't know what time it is over there or anything like that, but we appreciate that you are tuning in and listening and watching. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of more corn flour just to help it lift as we go. Now, all of the pastes mostly I have actually been pre-rolling, so I've taken a little bit of a risk, but that's just to help speed things up a little bit. And there we go, just on that little edge, just to help that kink up a little bit more. Now you can come into the middle if you want to widen it a little bit more, if you choose to, and across there too as well. And then we'll all get carried away, and I could be here for ages, frilling, frilling and frilling. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue into the middle. But it's great to hear from you all, it's really, really good. Oh, there's a question now. I heard the chair again.
You heard the chair again. It's the chair, not my knees.
Yes, that's good to know, Pat.
This is from Nancy. And
hello, Nancy.
She said, if I wanted to make it with fondant,
yes,
is it better to do it with Tylos or Tylo?
Yes.
Or CMC, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's fine. There's no reason why it won't work, and people will quite often make their own. And that should work just as well for you. You shouldn't have a problem. Obviously, just make sure you've made it ahead of time and when you need it. But yeah, you should be absolutely fine and well away to do that. No problem at all. There we go. I mean, we're doing these simply. We're not doing them wired or anything like that. But if you want to do something very fine, just make sure that you're kind of familiar with the paste that you've made and you know it's going to be adequate and work really well, and that you've got a good recipe as well to go with that. Now I'm just going to show you that little centre. Now you could either put a variety of different pearls into there, or you could just use a little centre that's a daisy centre. You don't have to, you could just roll a little ball up if you wanted to and drop that into position. I'm just going to use that pushed into there in one of those little holes. There's actually a whole set in the daisy centre, about, I don't know, 7, 8, there's quite a few, from very, very small to very large. Bit of petal base in there if you feel you need to. I don't think I need to put any in there. Now I know normally I would. Give that a little push. Rolling pin across the top just to tidy it up and take any excess paste away. So there we go. My scriber, clean that up around the edge. Silvio's homing in. He's getting in close for this one. Nice little push. And then just pull that straight out. And that just gives you your little centre. You can either push it straight in there or leave it to dry. What I've actually done is added a little bit of colour into the centre around the outside edge, because the Cosmos would quite often have little black stamens just around the outside edge. So I'm improvising with the brush and fine pen just by adding a little bit of black in around there. You could actually even put your strands in there, some of your sugar strands if you wanted to, a little bit of dust. And it's only giving it a suggestion. We're just doing something that's quick and fun and easy to pop onto a cupcake, or maybe on your cake if that's what you want to do as well. A little bit of glue on the centre. But it's great to be able to have something that's quick, simple and edible. And just into the middle, and give that a little push just into the centre. And there we go. Now if you wanted to, you could add in a little bit of extra colour in there as well. You could pop it onto some kitchen towel if that's what you wanted to do. or I'm going to maybe leave it in my former and just add in a little bit of dust in onto there. A little bit of extra pink just to make it shout a little bit would be quite nice. A little bit of dust just into there, and just pull that over the edge. I'd normally leave it all to dry before I would do that. And you can just see that starting to pick up all those colours. And we've done a whole array of colours. Silvio was showing you earlier. We've got some orange and we've got yellow and pinks as well. So all very pretty. Again, that one's still wet, so we can't dust that quite so easily. But you can see, and you'll see again with the photos, that it gives it a lovely look. Just highlights some of those veins. You can just see it picking up there really, really nicely into the middle there as well. It's a very pretty little flower, very wafer-like, I always think. And that's then ready to go onto a cupcake. I might just pop it onto this one. This is a sugar pasted one, and I think that should work all okay. I don't want to push too hard. I would have liked to put it onto a cupcake, but having dried out a section of it already, what I don't want to do is break that bottom layer that is already dried. So that's all. Another little cupcake to go on our display in a second as well. So that's our cosmos. Now we've also got, and we can't get away from this because it's an absolutely wonderful thing to have, we've got a lot of bling going on at the moment, a lot of girly stuff, and we've got some of this wonderful sparkle tape as well. So look at this, there's 6 different colours and they're all as great as each other. And really you don't have to be into cake to use these, you could just be into some crafting if you want to. I've got a whole array of these. When we've got a spare few minutes, which isn't very often, you'll find the whole of the teaching team basically getting these ready so that we can kind of create different patterns with them. And it's just taping up the wire like you would do for when you're actually preparing your centres and your wires for your flowers. So it's great. So I'm just actually using a 22 gauge wire, as you can see there. Just take one of those and I'm just going to snip a section. We'll pick a blue so it matches our handbag as well. And we've got a question. So I didn't hear the chair creak that time though, Pat. I can't find the end of my tape now.
Well, you concentrate on finding the end of the tape.
Okay, thank you. I should do that.
I'll ask the question.
Okay, that sounds good then.
So this is from Karen Wright, and she asks, where can you get the moulds for the centres of the cosmos?
Well, that is from any of your local stockists or suppliers. So they're a gem product, which you should be able to help. Where did you say the lady was from, Pat?
It didn't actually say.
Oh, okay.
Her name is Karen Wright.
Karen, okay. Yes, so I'm sure somebody would be able to redirect her as well, without much of a problem there. I've now lost my scissors, Pat, as well. Not to worry. It's okay. Oh, there they are. I've put them away. There we go. Right, blue. I got the blue because Pat bought me some time there, which was really convenient and very handy. Now, as you can see, it's lovely and sparkly, and it works in exactly the same way that your plain non-sparkly tape would work as well. So you've got some stretch in there, so give it a little stretch, and it then is in a good position to be able to attach onto your wire and twist. Now, I'm keeping it as it is. I'm not shredding it down or anything. And I'm just going to pull that all the way down the wire. Twist and pull. A bit more twisting going on there. There's a theme here today and it's all about the twisting. So twist and pull, twist and pull, twist and pull. And you can see it's just great. Now we tend to use this in with our wired sprays and our wired flowers, just to give a little bit of extra bling. We also tend to use it just to create patterns and shapes. You will have seen maybe at the beginning, there's a wonderful butterfly that Silvio's got there, and also a lovely flower at the top of the cupcake stand. And then you can see just with the flower by the shoe, there's a little bit of kind of support and a little bit of extra to go with that flower. So it's really good. I think we had a lady who contacted us once who'd actually used it on a fascinator for her hair when she was getting ready for a wedding. So it's wonderful stuff, absolutely wonderful. And if you want to leave yourself a little bit of extra tape, you can just twist that a little bit finer onto the end. And then it's just great to be able to bend it around. That could either be the end of a paintbrush or your rolling pin, depending on how tight you want the twists to actually be. If you want some bigger twists, we can just go with a rolling pin, and just the other end we can do something much bigger. So you can see, and it just gives that lovely creation going on to there. You can just kind of start to build something wonderful. Now maybe if you wanted to do a petal, you could have different layers. So you could have something very big just by creating a loop. That gives you a petal, give it a little pinch, and then you could straight away create something that looked more like a leaf shape. So do all those usual things that you would do with your wires once it's taped, and then just get really creative with it and bend and twist as you always would do. But you've got all those wonderful colours to be able to play around with, and I think they're absolutely wonderful. We all love this product to absolute bits, don't we? It's absolutely great. Now, I also think that there was a request as well, again with the coupler, from the Twist. So don't forget, you've got to do your twist. It says so on the packet, so that's what you've got to do. You've got to do some twisting, just to go through the coupler and how it worked. So I'm going to tidy up my space a little bit so that you can see that. And if needs be, we can actually find a cupcake and we can just put some on there. So I'm just going to undo this and recycle this over. And I'm just going to take the adapter out from here, and I'm going to bring this one in over here. So I've got two sizes of tubing here. I've got my small and I've got my large, and I've got my 3-piece set for my gem adapter as well. So I've got main adapter, and then I've got two couplers. And if you can see, this is the smaller coupler. It might be difficult for you to see, and that's actually the larger one. And what we've done is then this works with the smaller and that one with the larger one as well. I'm using just a disposable, but obviously you can use whatever bag you're used to using. I wouldn't recommend a parchment, to be honest with you, but it doesn't mean to say you can't. It's just you're going to maybe have a very small bag when you actually need something much bigger. And these are nice and firm and secure seals, so it makes sense. So if we're doing the small one, for example, I've pushed my adapter into there, and I'm just going to place the coupler around there, and that's just so that I can mark it. And what I don't want to do, I don't want to cut too far down from this section, so I tend to cut about here, pull that forward there. I've got my line. I can always cut more off if I need to. It's always much harder. You have to go to another bag to retrieve the situation. So you can see that's absolutely fine. Give it a good push so it's going to be nice and secure. And then we can add in either of our two tubes if we want to. I'll go with the little one, that should be fine. And make sure you've got the correct little adapter onto there, and make sure it's lined up okay. Now when you go to push it on, if you feel it's not quite right, turn it the opposite way round until you can feel the threads are actually level, and then start twisting that on there. And if it isn't, you'll soon find out, because the end will come flying off, so you'll soon know. So there you go, and that's how that goes onto there. So hopefully that's all good, and then you can just fill that up as you need to. I'll just go through. We'll just do one more to finish off, because I've got a spare cup. Oh no, I haven't got. Silvio, look, it's you again. Have you been nibbling the cupcakes? Isn't it a good job Pat brought that spare one in? Just so you know, Silvio's laughing his head off right now. He thinks that's really funny that he's attacked the cupcakes. Every week, Silvio, you do the same thing. You just can't be trusted, can you, with the cupcakes? Bless him. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of buttercream onto the cupcake. It's just so that it tends to stick. It helps seal that top as well, just a little bit. I'm not doing it very neatly, so please don't judge me on my lack of neatness on top of my cupcake. And then up into the centre for our twist. And go one way. You can twist as much as you want to doing this, folks, don't forget, and you can sing at the same time. I'm not going to subject you to that though, I'm afraid. And then that gives you a lovely little finish. And into the centre, because it's all blingy and it's for ladies and girls, I'm just going to add in a little bit of bling. I did go a little bit wobbly. If you're not straight up, you might get the design going one way more than the other, and that's not a problem, that's fine. We all go a little bit wobbly sometimes. So let's just give that a little flick over to there. So everybody can get twisting now, can't they? So all that's left is to say a huge thank you to everybody from all around the world, because you are truly international and everybody's tuned in. It's been really lovely to have you join us here, and it's been wonderful to have the pleasure of you in our company, whether you're watching live or after the show as well. From everybody here at PME, everybody in the room, the offices upstairs, from all across our locations, thank you so much for being with us, and get twisting, yay!